What's up, Drop Pod listeners? You can check out new episodes of the Drop Podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our content on YouTube at the Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along.
This episode is brought to you by George Wall Ford. George Wall Ford in Red Bank, New Jersey is family owned and operated, proudly serving New Jersey residents with superior customer service since 1960. Rye, share your story about your experience there.
Mike, I went on a tangent in one of our episodes previously about it, but I can't say enough good things about George Wall Ford. I needed a new car. I had an old. I loved the brand that I had. I loved, it was an SUV, but had 165,000 miles on it. It was just time, So I hopped on over to George Wall Ford. I saw our guy Jerry, and Jerry and his team were awesome. I mean, from stem to stern, they're there, they're helping, they're knowledgeable. They have so many cars on the lot that you can go in and say, hey, I want a sunroof, a navigation. I want this kind of rims on it. I want this kind of this, that, and the other thing. There's a great chance that they have that car with all your specs, the color, all that thing. Me, I didn't particularly care. I was like, hey, I want to be high up in the car, right? I need an SUV. I'm a big guy. I got a dog. I got golf clubs. I got beach chairs in the summer. I need something that's a little more rugged, a little more. Again, I like to be higher in my car. And I went and saw Jerry. He pointed me in the right direction. And again, it's awesome to have that kind of help and support from your salesman to the finance guy to even they got somebody who helps you set up your car, right? I got an app on my phone now that's got my auto start on it. I can locate my car if I don't know where it is. I could take a trip to Japan if I wanted to and be like, did I lock my car? And I can go into the app and lock my car. So even people helping you set up that stuff, just the hands-on approach over there is incredible. So if you need a car, head on over to George Wall. And go ask for Jerry. They were awesome there. Again, stem to stern from everybody. I can't say enough good things about it. It was an unbelievable experience.
So to Ryan's point, there isn't a better place to shop for a brand new car. Just call 732-704-1932 and ask for Jeremy Wall. George Wall Ford in Red Bank for all your car buying needs. This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Coulott. Well, this isn't Ryan Coulott. This is still Mike Poro. Little curveball there for you at home. Today's guest is none other than Plainfield's own Colin Summers. I was fortunate to sit down with Colin to recap his summer, and boy, oh boy, was it one for the ages. I mean, obviously you can say he didn't have any wins, but when you're talking about in contention on leaderboards, Colin's name was always there, whether it was the Met Open, whether it was the Met Am, the State Open at his home course there at Plainfield. He found a way to always be right around that top of the board there. And I think one of the things I really enjoyed sitting down and talking with Colin about was his approach. I being a results-driven guy, learned a lot from someone like him that you're able to look at things as a success without always having the results in terms of wins to prove or show for it. And I thought he did an unbelievable job explaining how, he started to work with a mental coach and how that's really enhanced his way of doing things. Breathing being a big thing that he does to find a way to calm his nerves. And I just was in awe. And I think the stories that he was sharing from when he was out at the USAM, getting a flat tire before they teed off in the opening round and how it was able to, in a sense, calm him down. I thought he really did a really good job of explaining a lot of different things and recapping his summer. And anytime you get a young guy like that on, who's got a mature approach and a fun side that he's able to laugh at some things, have a good time with some things, is always enjoyable. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show with Colin Summers. All right, so today's guest had one hell of a summer when you step back and look at things from a larger perspective. It is his second time coming on today's show. Today's guest is Colin Summers. Colin, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me again.
Listen, there's a lot to talk about. Like I know you had an unbelievable summer. I know, you just did something that's never been done, frankly, at Plainfield. So there's a lot to get into here. But let's kind of start here in the beginning. I think your name is one of those ones for someone like me that is when I'm checking these leaderboards and I'm checking things, your name is always around. And I think this summer was a huge step, I think, for you, and going to, hopefully eventually winning these things and getting your name etched in some of these on these trophies. But let's start with the MGA stroke play. I think that tournament, when that first round started, you shoot 67. I mean, that's another big round. What was the thought process going into that tournament? Did you feel like the game was in good shape starting the summer?
Yeah, to be frank with you, I was in Italy for 3 weeks in May. I was doing a study abroad program with Fairfield, and I got home, like, didn't play any golf, and like was kind of rusty, didn't really have anything going, and was not really playing a ton of tournaments, and showed up to Ike with little to no expectations, just looking to have a good time. Another tournament started at awesome course like Nassau, and I played. I think I was bogey free the first round, which was great. Good start to the Ike, and just like going to the second day, it was kind of one of those things where I had the lead last year too, the first round. So I definitely had a little more experience this time around. Obviously, it didn't go the way I wanted to, but it's tough. It's definitely tough sleeping on those leads, like knowing that you have to play 36 the next day with such a good field behind you. But um, it's just there's so many good players that you got to play. You got to play good golf, not perfect golf, to win those things. But unfortunately, the bounces didn't go my way, which everything's a learning experience. So I definitely learned a lot from that one.
Yeah, I mean, when I looked at a scorecard, you are right. It is bogey free 67. And I guess to your point, when you're in Italy and you are a little rusty, that may have probably carried over into the second day when you got to play 36. If you're not out there grinding as much and practicing as much, sometimes those things peak their head a little bit. And, I guess that may be one of the reasons why, the second and third round weren't as good per se as the first round. But to your point, the fields are loaded. Every time that someone like me, you go up and down these leaderboards, you got Jack Wall, you got Pat Wilson, you got Josh German, you got so many of these guys that frankly win things as well. So after you left the Ike, did you feel like, all right, I know it's kind of the end of June, and now as summer kind of ramps up with even more events and there's more of a routine and you're back to being here in the States, what was the thought process going into the other ones? And let's kind of like start with the Arcola Cup, because I know that was early July. Like, what was the thought process going into there? Were you feeling better? You got reacclimated to being here in the States?
Yeah, so like going off that again, it's just like I learned so much from the Ike, just experience wise and like mental wise. My game was in an okay spot. It was just for me, like those final rounds, it's all mental. So going to the Arcola Cup, it was just like getting more experience and kind of getting more, rounds under my belt for like the bulk of my schedule this summer. Um, yeah, the Arcola Cup was great. It's obviously championship golf course, very, very difficult conditions, long, rough, firm fairways, firm greens. So, you got to golf your ball around there. And I think 2 under ended up winning for 36 holes, which is, it's, I mean, you saw the scores of the USAM 2022. Like that course was hard.
Mm-hmm.
So, um,
Yeah, and that's a bit. And to put yourself in contention, though, like kind of as we'll go through the rest of the schedule, like kind of like week after week, your name is always right there. And I thought that was another example at the Arcola Cup. Like I know Liam ends up winning at 2 under, but again, you're talking about a field that, like, if you don't have your A game every single round and frankly every single hole, you're just going to get passed because the names are big names. And I felt like, all right, you played well at the Ike. You had a good opening round. You kind of followed that up here at the Arcola Cup. Another top 5 finish, if I recall correctly. Maybe even top 4. I don't
I
know
think it
if
was top 4.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was another good start, which kind of like, again, for me, I'm looking at like, all right, I think it's like a matter of time before you break through. And I thought, and I know this may be like sour grapes in some aspect, knowing that the state am is at your place. It is like, excuse me, the state open was at your place. The state am was at, no,
Stayed open.
state open. Let me
Yeah.
stand correctly. So state open is at your place. And I'm like, all right, this is like, got to be something that you're licking your chops saying like, I think I can do this, regardless if it's a state open. I understand all these other guys are going to be there, but you're one of those guys that has the potential and the caliber to win things. Knowing that the state open was coming to your backyard, what was the thought process going into that? Was it added pressure because you're home?
Honestly, like, not for me. No added pressure personally. Just, I mean, whoever knows me, like I'm a very easygoing person. I don't really, I mean, obviously get nervous here and there, but I don't really have expectations of myself. It was just an opportunity to like have my parents and like family come out and watch and friends. It was, like I love having a ton of people come watch me because like I get to provide excitement for like people that I love and who love me, and it's just awesome to have that like kind of support like playing field. Like the final round there were probably 50 to 75 members watching me. So it honestly like it's very cool, and like you get used to it after a while, but like there's no added pressure. It was just a very cool experience. And heading into it, we had the Met Am at Plainfield in 21. So it was like my second kind of major tournament at Plainfield. So I kind of had like a little bit of experience, with playing a tournament at Plainfield. It's obviously under tournament conditions, and tournament pressure definitely plays a little different, just because the greens are so tricky. But it was an all around good experience, and it was an opportunity to play a great tournament at my home course.
Yeah, I mean, when Ryan and I got out there and we played, and then we talked with Hager afterwards as like previewing the tournament, one of the things that I kind of liked is how they rerouted the golf course there. And I guess one of the things from an outsider's perspective like ours, we loved how that 18th hole was obviously the normal 9th hole. What were your thoughts? What are your thoughts about that? Like, is that something that you guys are unaccustomed to, or it has happened before, being a member that plays there often?
So we did that. Plainfield did that for the Junior President's Cup in 2017. So they went like real holes. They went 1, 2, 3, 13 through 18, and then 10, 11, 12, 4 through 9. So, I mean, I think the routing right now, like the normal routing 1 through 18, that like for the PJ Tour event, it was great because 18 provided like an awesome backdrop. Like it had like multiple grandstands behind the green. But for like obviously state opens not as big of a tournament. So like coming up 9 for our last hole was just completely awesome because the clubhouse is in the background. There are 200 people sitting on the deck, and I like that routing so much better because it's like 1, 2, and 3 are tough holes, and then you go 13, 14. So the first 5 holes are really hard, and then you kind of have a little breathing room 15, 16, and then 17, 18 you kind of got to get through, and then 10, 11, 12, 4, 5, 6 are all scoring opportunities. And then we played 8 as a par 4. So 7, 8, 9, like coming in, they're hard holes.
Yeah.
So you really got to golf your ball coming home. Like the last round, they put the tees on the back box on 8. So I think it was like 5. It was probably around 500, like straight into the wind. And when you're hitting 5-iron into that green, it's just like the green's not meant. I mean, it's a par 5, so it's just a hard. You've probably 5, 4, 5, 6-iron into that green. So with the greens being that firm, the final round, it was definitely a good test coming in.
Yeah, and I mean, 8 is not an easy green either. When from my recollection, it sloped pretty good left to right. It was hard. It was fast. Like when we were playing the the round before we previewed, and I had known, I'm like, this is going to be a par 4 for these guys. Like this is long. Yeah. But I guess on the opposite side, like it is I wouldn't say an easy, but a gettable par 5 too, in some aspects where you
100%.
guys,
Yeah.
like I can see why you move it to a par 4 for guys like you. But then when you're thinking about it from a golfing perspective, that second shot is not easy to
No.
get in there. But on a par 5, it's like, all right, I can get up and down if I put something up there.
Yeah. So like like when I'm playing normally, like if I don't make birdie or eagle on that hole, I'm kind of pissed off.
Yeah.
Also, side note, so like we're coming down. My best buddy Nick Conti was caddying for me, and we're coming down 17-8, whatever you want to call it, second to last hole, and like I don't know, I was kind of around contention, but kind of out of it. Like I was probably 4 shots back at the time, and we're like, there's probably like I don't know 50 to 75 members on the left side of 8. And so the fairway where I hit it kind of slopes left to right, and the green slopes left to right too. And I fade the ball. I never hit draws. And the pin was like middle left to where like if you landed it pin high right, it's off the green with a fade, and the wind's in off the left. So I'm like, Nick, dude, like I got to hit a draw in here. He's like, dude, like I got a 5-iron in my hands on the 53rd hole. So I hit like this like rope hook. It wasn't a rope hook, but probably drew like 10 yards. And it was perfect. It landed literally probably 10 feet short and rolled out like probably 40 feet. And like no one clapped. And I looked at Nick. I was like, tough crowd, man. Like that was probably the shot of my tournament. Shot of my tournament. And like that was the one, I think that was the one draw I tried to hit all summer and pulled it off pretty good. So
yeah, and nobody was impressed.
No.
Yeah.
I said that to my dad after the round, and he was like, yeah, dude. He was like, I knew it was a great shot because that thing was coming in from the right side. So
that's so good. It's summertime, the perfect time to get that new boat you've been dreaming about. Comstock Yacht Sales, your trusted local boating source since 1973, now has 2 locations. Visit their new sales center in Seabright. In addition to their original 50-year-old family business in Brick, Comstock is the largest dealer for Grady White boats, offering 22 models to suit every size and budget. Stop by either location any day of the week to explore their impressive Grady lineup tailored to meet your family's needs. Don't forget, check out their full inventory of new and pre-owned boats online anytime at ComstockYachtSales.com. Get your Grady today. I think having the tournament at your home spot, like, I do think it adds that sometimes a little more pressure, but also like that comfortability level to where like you kind of know where to miss it, where it's okay to hit it. It's like, all right. Whereas an outsider is always kind of like on the edge of their seat, like, is that going to be okay? Is that not going to be, so there was no doubt in my mind that you were going to be somewhere near the leaderboard. And I thought, again, it's like, all right, you're right on the precipice of winning one of these things. It's like, it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. When you left that tournament, knowing that it was at your home spot, what was the thought process going through your mind? Were you deflated in some aspects that maybe you didn't win? Were you like elated that like, hey, listen, I finished top 5 in the state open? Like, what are somebody's thoughts like yours after that tournament?
It's funny you mentioned that. I don't know. I mean, I don't look at it as like a failure or like I should have done better. I always look at it as like a learning experience. So I honestly like I probably had my B- game for that tournament, and I would say like course knowledge definitely probably was a shot around for me. But like everything's a learning experience. Like Scott Parrish told me probably 10, 12 years ago, he's like, dude, like, don't be like mad about anything. You got to use it as a learning experience and move on and learn and like use it and how you can do better for the next tournament.
So. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that what I've learned talking to players like you that are in college. We've had this conversation, I think, with Reed Greiserman too, is he always said like, you guys are just so mature in the way you think. Like I am this emotional train wreck when I'm out there. If I make a bogey, I'm ready to lose my mind. Where guys like you are able to learn from things and then apply it in the next round. And I think that mature approach really kind of sets you guys apart from like the average guy that's just trying to break through. And I think again, like, all right, it was like the next one, here it comes, because maybe what, 10 days, 13 days later, it's the Met Am. And, I think going into that, to me, I'm watching this thing and I don't know what guys like you have in terms of expectations. Is it sometimes just like, some guys we talk to, it's like, let's just make match play. If we make match play at the Met Am, that was a success. Where other guys are like, I want to win the damn thing going into it. Where was the game like? What was the thought process heading into the Met Am?
I mean, I every day of the summer I was playing really well. So obviously I was, had high, I wouldn't say high hopes. I was very confident. I didn't really have any expectations of, like obviously I want to win and try to do my best, but there's a lot of luck involved with that, which is out of your control. So I kind of just was going into that tournament doing everything I could in my control to play the best golf. And, Somerset was extremely hard. Let's just put it that way. It played very, very difficult. It was probably the firmest setup I played all summer. Um, it was crazy. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and it's funny you said it, because the last 2 weeks we had Eric Lafante on, who's obviously a member there. He talked about his experience there. Last week we had Dante Grupuso on, who won the whole thing at Somerset. And I don't know if the word firm was said a million times between the two of them describing that place, and how fast it was. Like that was like a term I felt like those two somehow communicated before they came on the show, because all they kept saying was fast and firm, fast and firm, fast and firm.
Yeah. So I mean, some of the greens got a little dicey in my opinion, just because there's so much slope on those greens, so there really wasn't anywhere to land the ball. If you had like 8 or 9 iron like in from the fairway, it was you really had to be precise with your landing spots and course management and not missing it in the wrong spots, because you know again, it's like if you short side yourself around there with how firm those greens are, you're making bogey at best.
Yeah, that seemed to be the echo that the two of them had shared with us. But I mean, in terms of how you played, I know you've opened up with an opening round 68, okay, and I believe you were first after the first round. I know you followed it up with 76, but I think even in something like the Met Am, I think the goal has got to be just to get to match play and then see how things go from that point. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think, once you get to the first round of the Met Am, what did you think about your draw? Like I tried doing some, I see the names. I see top 16, and someone like me is rooting hard for someone in New Jersey. Like, give me any guy in New Jersey to win this damn thing. I don't care who it is. And we had a slew of guys in there, and all guys that can play golf. So, when you get your opening round draw for someone like me, like, I don't really care what seed you are. I know it says 10 and the other dude's 7, but to me, that's irrelevant. Did you know anything about that kid, Charlie?
I grew up playing junior golf with Charlie.
Oh, okay. So you knew who he was.
Yeah, he's one of my really good friends. So
Okay.
we played. Let's see. When I won the Met Junior in my 2021, I played him in the semifinals. So it was kind of like a familiar face to play, and like we had an awesome time. Like Charlie's a great dude, like great player, better dude. So we were like laughing a bunch out there, which is it's fun because like like you can't take it too seriously, honestly, because like a lot of guys just like want to go out there and kind of do their own thing. But we were having a ball. Like the four of us, his buddy was caddying for him, Nick was caddying for me again. So Charlie, I love playing with Charlie. He's really a good kid.
Yeah. I mean, and, you know, to your point about the golf, I mean, you got off a good start there. You go 2 up, and I think, sealing the deal coming down the stretch on 16, 17, 18, kind of like wrap that thing up, so I see, all these names start moving on after round 1. And I'm like, all right, we're down to the Elite 8, and there's a lot of New Jersey guys in there still. And I'm like, here we go. Like, let's try to get it through. And I know from, doing some research that Jack's a pretty good player in his own set. Going into playing Jack, do you know anything of him? Have you played with him before?
Yeah, so I definitely knew he won the Met Junior, which is
Right.
obviously an eye opener.
Right.
And
But so did you.
yeah. No. So I knew he was a good player,
Right.
obviously. I obviously never seen him play, but let's just say I was impressed. I was very impressed.
Yeah. And
Um,
a great match.
yeah.
I mean, every time I was, going back and forth checking, it's one up, it's even, it's one up, it's even. Did you feel like coming down the stretch, like something changed, maybe on the back nine that kind of just catapulted Jack a little bit past you?
Yeah, definitely. So 15, I missed like a 4-footer for par to have or to win the hole. Actually, I think I think we were all square. Actually,
He was one up going into 15.
okay. So yeah, we have that hole. So I could have cut it to even. I missed like a 4-footer, which kind of stunk. But I hit a good one into 16. He hit a good one into 16, and then I missed mine, and he made his. And then so he goes 2 up. I'm dormy. 17. 17's like awesome hole at Somerset. Like you really can't hit driver. I hit 4-iron. He sends driver. I'm like, and he's going first, so he sends driver. I'm like, and it's just flush right down the middle. I'm like, all right, let's see what happens here. So I'm at the top of the hill, got like whatever pitching wedge or gap wedge in my hand, hit it to like it's probably 8 feet. So I'm like, all right, like I birdied 17, 18 in my match against Charlie in the morning. So I'm like, all right, I can do this again. He hits his wedge shot. He's down there like probably 30 yards short of the green. The pin was in the front middle, so like he hit one, probably landed on the front edge and just like scooted back to like 20 feet. And he just walks it in from 5 feet out. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like,
Yeah.
and I had a literally dead straight 8-footer, and I was putting. I mean, the entire summer I've been putting great, so I knew I was going to make it. So I'm happy for him that he made it, and it's good for him. So good experience.
But and again, like I think when you step back and look at it, as we're continuing going through this, like I know how I am. I can be a mental head case with anything. Like, you're so damn close. Why can't you close the deal? What is going on? Like, I think internally someone like me is going to start nitpicking at everything. Knowing again that you're pretty close in terms of notching one on your belt. What was the thought process after that one? Were you like, I get the vibe that for someone like me, man, I would be like disappointed, head in my pillow, probably crying. But guys like you, I just feel like it doesn't get to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I was honestly just exhausted. I'd played probably 3 weeks in a row and was like, kind of need a break because like the U.S. AM was coming up. So, but like going off that, like that's definitely something I struggled with like last summer. Like, why am I not winning? What am I doing wrong? And I started talking to a mental coach in May, like probably end of May. I'll probably talk to him probably 5 times. Honestly, become like a really good friend of mine, and he was just like, I was like, hey, like I'm struggling in final rounds. Like, what am I doing? And he's just like, hey, like that's just a narrative you put on yourself. Like, you can change the way you think and change the way like that narrative is. And that's kind of the thing that I've learned. Like, some things aren't meant to go your way in life, and that's just one of those things that it'll come
Yeah.
through hard work and dedication. So
I
I'm not.
like that because I think sometimes the mental coaches, things like that can have a negative connotation to it. Like, oh, you really going to go see somebody and talk to somebody, whatever it's about, whether it's golf or life, whatever. And I think it's underrated with how much someone like that from an outside perspective truly, truly can help you and your golf game.
I 100% agree. I think everyone should talk. I mean, I've never talked to a therapist. Luckily, I've never needed one, but like mental coach in golf, I guess you could say therapist. He is a licensed therapist, so Great player in his own right. He's played in like 40 USGA events.
Yeah, there you go.
So he's just like, biggest couple of things is just like, like the narrative you put on yourself and like your positive self-talk and, like breathing on the golf course is really important. So I've been meditating for this entire summer and it's helped. I've slept better. I've been a lot more calm on the golf course and that's allowed me to, perform at a higher level.
Man, that's what I need. I need to learn how to do that because it's funny you say that because the breathing thing is something that Reed echoed tremendously while when he won the state am. Is he's like, dude, I couldn't tell you. All I was focused on was my breathing.
Yeah.
And someone like me who likes to learn and listen to what you guys do to make yourselves be even better golfers, and I'm like, breathing, the hell does breathing? But he's like, no, trust me, dude. That if you focus on little things like that, it's amazing how you can keep your emotions at a level that it's
Yeah. So
easier
like
to play at.
the science behind that is your, I don't know if it's adrenaline, but it's also like, I don't know if it's cortisol or it's some emotion or like some hormone that like spikes like your fight or flight response. And that changes like the way your body works, right? So obviously golf is like, I would say it's more artistic than powerful. So you need to be precise in what you're doing and when you're on the range practicing and your heart rate is at a low level, like you're not practicing under pressure a lot. So if you can, drop your heart rate as best as possible under pressure, that's the best way to perform. So just like clearing your mind and breathing. So, you know, if you breathe for a minute or two, like before you tee off in a first tee or 18th tee box in the 54th hole, um, it helps. It really does help because, you know, you can feel your hands.
Yeah, yeah, which obviously you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I love hearing stuff like that because I think a lot of us people like myself who's on the older generation of things, you don't think of things like that to help my golf game. It's more like, let me get to the range, let me beat balls, let me practice. But sometimes it is what goes on in between the ears that truly has a big impact on what you do. So, listen, I love things like that because it's just another way for crazy people like me to kind of figure out how to calm down. Have you been to a golf cave? It's a perfect indoor golf experience for serious golfers. Golf Cave has been New Jersey based since 2012 with 4 locations and 3 more coming soon, all in the Garden State. What makes Golf Cave unique? Well, it starts with private luxury suites called caves. Each cave has a dual TrackMan simulator, leather recliners, TVs, a fridge, BYOB, and food. You get the idea. These are not bays like a driving range. They're private rooms loaded with technology all the pros use. Why go to the driving range when you could book a tee time, choose from over 250 of the world's best courses, and practice with purpose? Golf Cave offers hourly rates for tee times and memberships. Here's the best part. Golf Cave members get 24/7 access with their cave key. Even better, memberships are month to month and any unused hours roll over. So stop by the Golf Cave in Clark, Greenbrook, Eatontown, or Randolph, or visit golfcave.com to learn more. First time visitors use code DROP, that's DROP, to get your first hour free. Welcome to the evolution of golf. Obviously, then we get to the USAM at Hazeltine. And I think qualifying for that sometimes is in itself a major accomplishment. And I think once you get to Hazeltine, what are the goals there? Like, obviously you've been playing really well all summer. Okay. You got a lot of things going in your favor. And obviously, like I said to you in the pre-show, like I also heard some crazy stories that came out of that place for you. But before we get into the stories aspect, let's talk about the golf. What was the thought process leading into that thing?
Yeah, so I mean, I was 6 under through 2 rounds of qualifying to get in, so that was definitely a huge accomplishment. I'm proud of.
Yeah, no doubt.
I definitely thought that if I played my B plus to A plus game, I could probably make a run in match play, at least get into match play. And I definitely had higher expectations and of myself, and obviously didn't pan out the way I wanted to. I didn't play well at all. It was probably the worst tournament of my summer. Unfortunately, I don't know if that was from. I mean, I know what it was from, but I was definitely more nervous on those first couple of holes than anywhere else. So
Let's talk about this flat tire first.
yeah.
Okay. So, just like a lot of things, I like to go digging and seeing what kind of tidbits I can get, little nuggets about the guests coming on. And, I said to someone, well, give me a little something about Colin. And all I was sent back was flat tire at USAM.
Yeah. So we rented.
Let's explain that one.
Yeah. We rented a Grand Wagoneer to the Jeep because it was me, my mom, my dad, Nick, Ryan, and my sister. So we had 6 of us. So we needed obviously a bigger car to get around. So we got that. We're all in the car. Monday morning, probably 7 a.m. Or honestly, yeah, 7 a.m. I think I teed off around 9 or something. Going to the course, whatnot, having a good time, couple of laughs, whatever, having a good time in the car, and we definitely heard something. And I was sitting next to Ryan in the back seat. I was like, "Did you hear that?" And he's like, and we're looking at the tire gauge, and my dad didn't realize it because he's just nervous. He's like, "Oh my god, we're going to the first round of the USAM. Just get there." And the front right tire pressure just immediately spikes, just goes down. And I look at Ryan, I'm like, "Dude, I think we have a flat tire." And Ryan goes, hey Bob, I think we have a flat tire. So next thing you know, it's at 5. It's at 5 PSI. So luckily Minnesota, there's literally nothing there. There's nothing there. So luckily we get off the highway, get into a strip mall, and it's just fully on the ground. There's no saving this thing. Absolutely, yeah. It's toast. It's cooked. So whatever. We call it my coach was with us, and he was obviously didn't want to wake up at 7 a.m. So he was a little late. I called him. I was like, "Hey, how quickly do you think you can make it to this spot?" He's like, "I don't know, probably 10, 15 minutes away." So whatever. We called an Uber, got there. It was hilarious. I mean, and then we get in the Uber, and the guy makes 3 wrong turns. It just goes from bad to worse. Yeah. And me, Ryan, and Nick are sitting in the Uber, just with our hands in our faces. Oh god.
Was that leading into the first round or the second round?
The first round at Chaska.
So it's it's day one, and you're already probably nervous as hell, and now we're dealing with a flat tire.
Yeah, it honestly calmed my nerves because it was just hilarious. I mean, you can't make that up. Just
yeah, I think I listen, and I think that again goes back to what we were just talking about the mental side of things, and being able to be you know what, some things are simply just out of my control, and I can't do anything about it. And having that mature approach, I think, helps you, and especially in crazy situations like that.
Yeah, so I mean, the flat tire, we got there still probably a similar time we would have, but the flat tire has no effect on how I'm going to play golf. So it's just an outside entity that could affect someone mentally, but it really didn't faze me much. So
yeah, and I think when I was looking at the 2 rounds, I definitely thought it was probably like you said, your worst 2 rounds of the summer, because I'm always looking for the circles, and in that scorecard there was a lot of squares. I can't lie. I was kind of surprised because really that second round, I thought you had you birdied the first hole. I believe you went off 1, correct?
Yeah.
So you birdied the first hole, and I'm like, all right, listen, I'm that nerd who's following all the New Jersey's guys. I got them all starred. I'm saying just get us 1 into the top 64, and then all of a sudden, what kind of happened after 1? Did it just become listen, the golf course is just so damn hard, I don't have my A game?
Yeah, so I probably had my D game, honestly. So before, like, obviously you have so much time. I'll give you like a backstory to like the whole tournament. So like you get there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're playing the practice rounds, but you're living there. So you have so much time to do everything. And, when you see guys like Luke Potter, Luke Clanton, Gordon Sargent all on the range, like beating balls, you're like, oh shit, like, excuse my language.
No, it's fine.
You need to go on you need to be on the range too. And I like my game was in a great spot, so I was like, all right, we'll go hit balls, whatever. And I had an alignment stick down, really wasn't doing anything like crazy, wasn't working on anything, and I think that's what shot me in the foot. Like I go on the range and I work on something at home, and I was just like aimlessly beating balls, which I think either from fatigue or developing a bad habit kind of affected me in a negative way, and that's the biggest thing I took away from it was time management at the USGA events. But yeah, like going into the second round at Hazeltine, I mean I didn't even know where the golf ball was going. I mean that's how bad it was. So to scrape out like a 74 the first round was like okay. But then like going to Hazeltine, I was like, all right, like we'll see how this goes. Let's just try to have fun and like learn whatever we can. And like the first hole, I hit it in the right fairway bunker. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And then hit my second shot into the greenside bunker, and then I hold out for birdie.
Wow.
So all right, like great start.
It's a great start.
Yeah,
great start. I made a birdie and I kind of slapped it around twice.
Yeah, and then the next 17 holes, I made 7 bogeys, and then like we get into the locker room, and Jack and I were teeing off literally at the exact same time. And like we played our practice rounds together and whatnot, and we get in the locker room, we're like, dude, like that course was something else. That golf course, I'll tell you that much. If you didn't, I tell everyone this: if you didn't fly at 330 or hit like a 20-yard hook, there's no chance you're scoring.
Wow.
Or unless you're like whatever landing it literally on a dinner table off the tee box. The fairways were so firm, and I would say like 9 to 10 out of the 14 par 4s and 5s were dogleg lefts, and the fairways sloped left to right.
Yeah, so when you hit your fade, you're seeing these tee boxes and you're like, this is terrible.
And Jack slices it more than I do, which I love. He hits a bigger cut than I do, and he was just like, dude, I was in the rough the entire day.
Yeah,
he hit like 2 fairways. You can't, like around here you can score in at least. I mean, the MGA and NJSGA stuff, like you can manage not hitting fairways, but out there like you got to put the ball in the fairway. Like you can't do anything out of the rough.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that experience again of being out there at Hazeltine is another, it's another, kind of notch in the belt to getting there, learning things as you've said, and hopefully that when the opportunity presents itself, then next year, because I'm hopeful that it happens again next year, that you realize all the time management aspect of it to know what to do. So I mean, you have to leave there feeling like, all right, I didn't play great, but I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of like leads me into like the the Met Open. And, it's kind of like the finale for the summer for a lot of you guys before you head back to school. Going into there, coming back from Hazeltine, did you take a little bit of a break before you teed it up in this, or was it back to the grind as soon as you got home?
Nah, I was literally, we got home Wednesday, probably at like 5, and the next day I was like, all right, maybe I'll give myself some time. And 5 p.m. rolls around, I'm like, I can't. I need to go to balls. My mom was like, you need to give yourself a break, like let yourself like soak this in and like enjoy like the moment and stuff. And I was like, I just can't. I need to go hit balls and go play and do something, and I need to try to learn how to get better. So yeah, we can go into the Met Open now. So
yeah, so you get there. And again, listen, the field is loaded. It's name after name after name. And it's obviously a lot of professionals too in the Met area, not only here in New Jersey. So the cream of the crop in a sense is all there. What was the goals going to that? Like, obviously I think the field is a little stronger than the New Jersey State Open because you got everybody. Like, what are you thinking going into there?
I never played there before. I showed up on the tee box and had no idea where
Round one, no practice round.
no practice round. So
Wow.
I literally I probably had bad expectations. I was like, let's see how this goes, because I was talking to like I was talking to a member on the range, and he was like, yeah, like the rough is insane. I was like, oh, good. I was just like, go from the USAM where the rough's basically up to your knees, and then Weeburn was the rough there was definitely thick. So I mean, it was honestly the USAM kind of prepared me for the Open, just because I was kind of used to playing in those conditions already when most people weren't.
That's fair. And when you look at, like, when you kind of go through like a round by round perspective, I know that you opened the tournament with 73, and some people may say that's a little high, but like, if I recall, there was maybe one round in the 60s that really maybe separated themselves a little bit, but all in all, everybody was right around that number of like even par, +1, +2 after the first round.
Yeah, it's just it was a tricky golf course. It really was. It was hard. Like the opening 5 holes are really, really hard holes. So I mean, when you start on one and you're like 2, 3 over through five, it's like it's like honestly, and you're playing well. It's like it's honestly mental warfare, and I think just some guys couldn't handle it. I'm sure you saw really good names shoot terrible scores.
Yeah, and I was honestly surprised.
Yeah,
I think your rounds too, though, even like to your point about your rounds, like when I looked at Tuesday specifically, like that front nine, I saw when I see like a 7 on the scorecard for guys like you, I'm like, holy hell, that's crazy. But like, even on that front nine for you, it wasn't ideal, but I thought the way you bounced back on the back nine, that opening round, you know, what was that like? Was that just like, all right, we got to either figure this out, or did something click?
I honestly like, so since I had never played the golf course, I was just kind of like going hole by hole, and I knew my game was in a good spot, so I was just like the first 5 holes. I mean, if you look at my scorecard, I was probably what 7 or 8 over on those 5 holes for 3 days. It's
Yeah.
probably around that.
Yeah, honestly, I pulled the scorecard up now just out of curiosity, and to your point, it there are a lot of fives, and
Yeah,
but then once you get to the back nine, it's like the complete opposite story.
yeah. And the back the back nine's not easy either. Like, I mean, um, it's just tough. Like you get, I mean, especially in like that final round, like you're starting like I think Christian started, like 3 over, 4 over through 5 holes, and I think I did the same thing. I think I was maybe a couple over through 4 holes, and then birdied 5 and 6. Um, so I mean, it's just hard. You got to battle. You really do, and you got to stay in it. And that's like one on the back nine. I just hung around. I just tried to hang around the best I could. Keep the big numbers off the scorecard as best I could, and I did a great job at that. It was more mental management, course management than playing well. So
Yeah,
uh,
and tell me about the eagle on 17 in the final round, because obviously, when I see the 2 pop up there, it's like, give me that. What happened there? You hold out from somewhere?
yeah, so 16, I like hit one left into the trees, and I'm like pissed off, like besides myself, and like I never get that way on the golf course. I knew I was like around the lead, pissed off, like pretty easy tee shot. And like it's an island green, so you can't like I had a shot, but like there's no chance I'm getting it on the green. It's going in the water 95% of the time. So I'm like, all right, chip out, whatever. I gave myself 10 footer for par, missed it. I'm just livid, like walking off, like pissed off, because I knew I'm like kind of just shot myself in the foot. Like you can't be bogeying the whatever 52nd hole. So I 17, they moved the tees up probably 50, 60 yards to make a drivable, and I had no idea. So I was like, all right, like we got this and a par 5 coming. Like I can, make something happen here and make a good run. And I like flush driver. The wind was like in off the right, and it didn't like it stopped fading. It kind of just like the wind took it, dropped it in like the left greenside bunker, and the pin was back left. So I was like disgustingly short sided. Really didn't have anything. and I hit like a literally perfect bunker shot. Landed on the fringe, like spun a little, and then dropped in, and like I gave a huge fist bump, a little come on scream, and then so like yeah, I'm like right back in it. I think I'm even now,
Even par, yeah.
50 through 53. And this is where like a perfect example of that breathing goes. Like I went into the trees, like obviously just went to the bathroom and just sat there and like tried to breathe and calm myself down for 2 minutes. And I was stepping up on the last hole. Like it's a tough tee shot. There's water kind of down the right. There's like a pond down the right side. You can carry it, but it was into the wind, and then there's OB left. And if you like, you got to hit a good drive. And I flush driver. I'm super calm walking up, and then like I've got whatever 255 to the front edge, and it plays 15 up. So I'm like, it's 270 front edge, pins all the way in the back. The greens are firm. So if I flush 3-wood, like I'm a little juiced up. It'll probably 3-wood for me flies around 275 if I nut it. So I'm like adrenaline, probably add an extra 10 yards. And I just like caught it like a hair out of the heel, came up literally probably 3 feet short, and then didn't get up and down. But like I didn't even know like my dad was standing at like Weburn, like there's like a huge hill. It almost looks like Riviera, almost huge hill. And like I look up and my dad's standing there, just like clapping when I finished. I had no idea because Weburn's 2 hours from my house, so I had no idea he was coming, and it was just like awesome way to wrap up the summer and like see him standing there. I was tied for the lead. Obviously the cards didn't go my way, but it was an awesome end. So
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you know when you get on that last tee that you're one back? Do you know you kind of
I was tied for the lead at the time, but I definitely knew that like if I made birdie on 18, I would be like in a really good spot.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, because I was looking at that again. To me, it's like, all right, he's right here. You're coming off an eagle on 17. When you're just refreshing the damn Golf Genius, I don't know how you do it, but I was like, dude, he's got it. Like this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then obviously, that tournament concludes, and being like the Colo amateur with Christian, I think that's a huge accomplishment in that field. Probably even a little more so like, all right, I missed it by one more or less, but like that's a pretty big accomplishment in that tournament, again, with all those names.
Yeah, it was probably like looking back at like everything that happened this summer, like obviously Plainfield coming top 5 at my home course was awesome, but like low am at the Met Open is like a really, really serious deal. Like obviously Christian's done it a couple times, because Marcus Stanza, Cameron Young. So, it's definitely a huge accomplishment and something that I'm, very proud of. And it's just like it culminates everything I did this summer. It kind of wrapped it up in a nice way, and I'm glad that I finished strong.
Yeah, I mean, that's good company to be in. I mean, when you say those names over and over again, it's like, wow, that's pretty good company, And I think as a wrap up here, I think it was fitting, when we go through the whole summer and we talk about, your results, that you recently just go out there and set the course record at Plainfield. And I think
No. Fairchild Wheeler in Fairfield.
Oh, that's where it was.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I got all like crazy. I was in my mind. I was like, this dude just went out there and did it there. Oh, so I stand corrected. Even though, tell me a little bit about that, because I mean, that's another.
Yeah. So it's a public track that we play from time to time. So our home course is Brook Lawn Country Club in Fairfield.
Oh, nice.
So like they had an outing yesterday, Thursday, September 12th is when I broke it. So they had an outing. So our coach just got us times there, and it was crazy. I made 11 birdies, 3 bogeys, and broke the course. I made like a 6-footer for slider for par on the last to break the course record. And me and my buddies definitely had a couple beverages last night, and we had a fun time, celebrated it in the right way.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question, because Ryan is a huge, like, memorabilia type guy, where like I've made a few hole-in-ones. I don't know where the golf balls are. And he's like, how do you not know where the golf balls are? You set this course record. do you keep the scorecard? Is the golf ball kept? Like, I know this is something he'd be all about asking because I'm the complete opposite.
Yeah.
What did you do with it?
Asking that. Honestly, the golf ball is probably going in the shag bag because it's pretty beat up. But I kept the scorecard. I'm looking at it right now. It's got in blue Sharpie and signed by a couple of guys. So,
All right.
it's
So
pretty
we'll say
cool.
you're 50-50 there. We'll say you're 50, no golf ball, but we got the card. So
Yeah, definitely
like-
keep the card for myself.
yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on today's show and kind of like reliving what I thought was an unbelievable summer with how you played and what you accomplished. And, I wish you nothing but the best at Fairfield. And I hope you guys do really well this fall.
Yeah. Thanks again. Appreciate it.